This is Personal Injury Court.
Good day, everyone. This is the matter of Winslow versus Low Tide Cruises, Inc., which is represented by Mr. Collins. It's my understanding, Ms. Winslow, that you are suing Low Tide for injuries that you received while on one of its cruise ships. You're asking this court to award you past medical expenses of $47,000, future medical expenses of $20,000, pain and suffering of $200,000, scarring and disfigurement of $325,000, for a total award of $592,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Collins, you believe that if Miss Winslow had followed the rules of the ship, she would have never been injured. This is her fault, not yours.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's get into the legal sauce. What led you to want to get on a cruise ship?
Well, Your Honor, I'm actually a social media influencer and a travel blogger. I'm also a mom. I love to help other moms, find affordable vacations that they can do with their children. I have 67,000 followers on social media, and people love the fact that I give them affordable travel tips.
So you get on social media and give tips, and then how do you get paid for that?
Well, that's what it is. It's promotional. So I have luxury clothing and travel brands that I partner with.
What kind of trips have you taken?
Oh, I've been all over the world. I've been to Peru, I've been to Colombia, I do rappelling, I do skiing, cruises, beach, like you name it, I do it.
This is an exciting life.
Yes, it is, Your Honor, and I love to help other people.
So, Mr. Collins, tell me about Low Tide Cruises.
I've been with Low Tide Cruises for 17 years. I became president of Low Tide Cruises in 2016, and it's just a phenomenal cruise line. We have been rated highly through multiple different consumer agencies the past 2 years. Miss Winslow herself has even rated us extremely highly on some of her travels. She's traveled with us in the past, before this particular cruise.
So Low Tide is a real player in the cruise ship business?
I would like to think so, yes, sir.
So you picked Low Tide because it was one of the players?
Yes, Your Honor, it was originally.
Why this ship?
This ship had an ice skating rink, right? So that's an experience that I had never had before. And I said, okay, let me go ahead and try the ice skating rink. I'd never seen a cruise with that before, and report that back out to my followers about my experience.
How did you get hurt?
Oh, God, Your Honor, it was horrible. So I was skating on the ice. Everything was fine the first couple of times I went around the rink. I actually tripped on a gouge that was deep in the ice. I flew first into the wall. Okay, Your Honor, I broke my collarbone. I have a huge laceration in my leg. I'm currently disfigured and scarred there. I broke my ankle. It required rods and screws to fix, Your Honor.
This was a bad fall.
It was horrible. It was painful, embarrassing, and now I'm permanently disfigured. And this affects my brain, Your Honor.
You've submitted some photos to this court. It wasn't just a cut.
No, Your Honor. It was a huge laceration. It required 25 stitches, and it got infected. So now it's permanently scarred.
This is your ankle?
Yes, Your Honor.
So when you fell, one skate went and gouged into your other leg?
Yes, Your Honor.
And caused this kind of injury?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's amazing you didn't bleed to death out there.
It's true, Your Honor.
Mr. Collins, how did you know something had gone wrong?
I was phoned immediately, Your Honor. I was not on board the ship at the time. I was land-based in my office. All of our crew go through extensive safety protocols and training, but we also have multiple highly trained medical facility people on each level of the ship.
Okay.
And as soon as this happened, one of the ship's doctors was phoned immediately through radio, and he was by her side within 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes response time, Your Honor, and every ounce of medical resources
impressive.
we have. Thank you. Your Honor, she was skating in the wrong direction, first of all. We have protocols and safety measures going on.
I thought they were suggestions, Your Honor.
Were you skating in the wrong direction?
Yes, Your Honor, but I never ran into anybody. That's
Doesn't
not
matter.
why I fell. It was the gouge.
Well, I grew up roller skating. I've never been on ice skates, but you don't skate against the grain. I mean, you skate with everybody. Otherwise, it's going to be bumper cars out there, right?
I never ran into anybody, even though I was skating in the wrong direction.
She was going in the wrong direction, Your Honor. This is not our responsibility.
It was the
So
gouge.
you believe that her going in the wrong direction is what caused her injury?
Contributed to it, yes, sir.
But how's she supposed to know that she can't skate where she wants to?
Well, there's signs everywhere along the rink that says skate in a clockwise formation.
Did you see those signs?
Yes, Your Honor, but like I said, I've been skating since I was a child, and I thought those were more like suggestions.
If you know how to drive and you drive on the road, those are rules and laws, not suggestions.
Let me do the lecturing in here.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Please
Thank
forgive
you, Your
me.
Honor.
So did you see that sign?
Yes, sir. I did skate a couple of times in the wrong direction, but again, Your Honor, it was that divot, that deep gouge in the ice that caused me to trip. I never ran into anyone.
But these are the skating rink rules. Only skate clockwise. Mr. Collins, if she's going clockwise, couldn't she still have hit this gouge in the ice? And we still be here today?
I'm still not convinced there was a gouge. I think this is simply somebody slipping on the ice. It's possible, probably, to have hit the gouge, but still, she was going against the grain.
Now, she's not out there alone. There are other people skating,
Yes,
right?
yes, sir.
They're all skating clockwise.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you got all those blades out there. They're going to chip that ice up. What do you do to protect that?
Your Honor, every one of our onboard attractions have safety features involved, and we go through regular maintenance. One of the maintenance things that we do for the ice rink is resurface that ice 3 times a day. That is our scheduled maintenance. For an ice rink this size, 2 times a day is sufficient. In fact, 2 times a day could be over and beyond, but we go a 3rd time because we want the ice to look pristine.
So on the day of this
Your Honor,
incident, how many times?
They were not resurfacing the ice, and it wasn't smooth. It definitely wasn't. There was a huge gouge in the ice. I don't think they resurfaced it at all. I didn't see a machine out there, and again, there are so many people that are skating around. They should be doing it every hour on the hour.
Mr. Collins, how many times on this day, when this incident happened, did your folks resurface the ice?
On this particular day, it was done once before the incident and once after. We did not do it a 3rd time because the machine was having issues at the time.
Well, Miss Winslow, you're out there skating around. Didn't you notice that the ice was a little bumpy?
Yes, but I didn't notice that huge gouge, Your Honor, which is the reason that I slipped, tripped and fell.
Well, is this the kind of thing that she ought to be able to see, Mr. Collins?
Well, I can't really speak for what she can see, Your Honor, because the ice does get bumps over time, and that's why we do the resurfacing to smooth it all out.
It was a gouge, Your Honor. It was deep, at least an inch.
Well, you can see my fist from here, right?
Yes, sir.
So why couldn't you see the gouge in the ice?
It was smaller than your fist, Your Honor. See, additionally, the cruise liner is responsible because they gave me skates that weren't safe. Okay, the skate laces were too short on one of my skates.
So they supplied the skates to you?
That's correct. They are responsible for the skates.
So what was wrong with the skates?
The laces were too short on one of the skates, and I even tried to return them because I was worried about ankle support since one of them didn't lace all the way up, and they said they didn't have anything else in my size. It was completely safe for me to get out there. Since then, I've obviously realized that that's not safe.
Mr. Collins, your folks giving out skates that don't work?
No, sir, no, sir. I've seen videos of her on her blog where she's been rollerblading, she's been skiing. She knows the importance of proper foot equipment.
Rollerblading and skiing, that's one thing. She's standing on ice out here.
Yes, sir. I've been skating myself, Your Honor, and they've been loose skates. I didn't get the proper ankle support. I could hardly go 5 feet, much less a couple of rounds.
She should know what a tight boot does for safety, right?
If she didn't, she's a blogger, she should have researched it.
Now, Miss Winslow, this is you right before you started skating, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That skate in your left hand looks like it's got less string on it than the one in your right hand.
Yes, sir.
So you knew what you were doing in putting these skates on, right?
But Your Honor,
Your Honor, we may not have had the same size, but we had laces.
I told them it was a little bit short, and they said, no, it's fine. Those skates have been used earlier in the day by everybody else, and that it was fine and I would be safe.
Did it feel fine up until the time that you hit this gouge in the ice?
Up until I hit the gouge, Your Honor, yes.
I've got size 13 feet. I've had them since I was 12 years old. I look like a capital L as a kid.
Your Honor.
When I go up to get the skates, they would give me size 13. If they didn't fit right, isn't that on the skating rink or on the cruise ship?
Well, Your Honor, we can't force somebody to get new laces. It was recommended, I'm sure, but I don't have any record of that.
Your Honor.
But I do, Your Honor, have an incident report from the doctor where she claims she slipped on the ice.
Okay, Sheriff Matt, will you get this?
She didn't trip because of laces. She slipped. And here's the full report, sir. I'm sorry.
Let me take a peek at it. Okay, this is a medical incident report. Hannah Winslow, that is you, Miss Winslow?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says, patient slipped on ice, broke ankle and collarbone, suffered laceration to calf and ankle. It doesn't say anything about a gouge in the ice. In fact, it says you slipped.
No, Your Honor, I definitely tripped, and I don't think it's my responsibility for them to put the wrong word in the report, okay? Their doctor obviously wasn't a great doctor. They sent me to this third world hospital.
Your Honor, that's my doctor's report, not from the hospital she went to.
Well, it says you slipped on the ice. Slipped and tripped.
I tripped, Your Honor. I tripped.
Because if you slip, you lose.
No.
You understand that?
I understand, Your Honor. I tripped.
Because that means that's on you being a bad skater.
No, sir. It was the gouge in the ice. I definitely tripped.
Miss Winslow, you've had some severe injuries.
Yes,
the one
sir.
that's most disturbing to me, I know you've messed up your arm and other things, is this gouge to your leg. This thing just sliced you open like a surgical scalpel.
Yes, Your Honor, and it's preventing me from partnering with new brands.
And that's why you're asking this court for $325,000 for scarring and disfigurement.
Yes, sir, I'm horribly disfigured. I'm still in a lot of pain, and my business is impacted.
Mr. Collins, you see this has affected how she makes a living.
Yes, sir. What I'm saying is she's trying to use her social media connections and influence to get her medical bills taken care of.
Mr. Collins, I see you brought a witness.
Yes, sir.
Sir, would you stand and come to the podium?
This is Logan Harris. She's one of my bartenders, sir.
Tell me what your role is in this.
I'm a bartender at the lounge on the Lido deck. She came into the lounge, she came into my bar. It was really a bizarre experience. She came in and she made it very clear that she had a famous blog, and it kind of seemed like she was pressuring me into getting her free drinks for her and her husband. I was her best friend, and almost as she was flirting with me a little bit, just made it real awkward because it was right in front of her husband. So,
Miss Winslow, were you trying to get some freebies?
It's a business exchange. I do promotion for these companies, and in exchange, I do sometimes get free products and services.
Are you supposed to do anything to let your folks know who follow your blog that you're getting the stuff for free?
Yes, sir, I do have to post something saying that this is an ad or a promotion, and I do that. I'm completely in compliance with all the laws and regulations around travel blogging.
Your Honor, that's not true. We pulled it up. There's some posts that have the hashtag ad, which is admittedly that I do get paid or I do get this service for free, but she doesn't do it on all of them.
Okay, so you've got some posts that Miss Winslow.
I did submit a. There's one right there.
Okay, Miss Winslow, is this one of your posts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Here's what it says. Fam and I had the best time on this zip line in Mexico. Hashtag family vacation, hashtag ad, hashtag Mexico. Now, tell me where the disclosure is on that one.
Once you see hashtag ad, you know that it's an advertisement.
Not everybody knows that, Your Honor.
But that's
I didn't know it until the legal team
required of
explained
me
it to
legally,
me.
Your Honor.
So the average guy like me, we'll assume I'm average, has to look at hashtag AD, and I read that and say she's getting paid for this?
But people on social media read hashtags.
Well, they read it. I'm trying to figure out, did you comply with federal law?
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you're cheating folks according to federal law, I gotta factor that in when I figure out whether I believe you today.
No, sir, I did what was required.
Your Honor, not everybody knows what hashtag ad means.
You believe she's up to trying to get something for free again, just in this lawsuit?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you may be seated. Thank you so much. Miss Winslow, do you take any responsibility for your injuries?
No, Your Honor. My business is impacted, my appearance is impacted, and I'm in horrible pain, Your Honor.
Folks, I think I've heard what I need to hear. I'm ready to render my decision. In every personal injury case, the plaintiff has to prove three things. You, Miss Winslow, have to prove that Low Tide Cruises was wrong, that their wrong caused your injuries. Here, you've put up evidence that you went to this cruise line to go ice skating because it was a unique feature. You were gonna put it on your blog, excite your followers, and continue this really successful career you have. Instead, you get out on that ice and you hit this hole, and this skate nearly takes your foot off. Mr. Collins, I can see this means a lot to you. You've put up evidence that you all had a routine, a procedure for cleaning this ice. And even once a day, you believe that's sufficient in light of the number of skaters. And frankly, if there's a hole so big, she should have seen it. You believe she's out there skating in the wrong direction, and although terrible injuries, these terrible injuries are hers. You think she's trying to kind of get a little deal here to get you to paramedical.
Yes, sir.
You all had a responsibility to maintain this ice the way you had. On this particular day, you didn't do it 3 times. You didn't even do it 2 times before this incident. You did it once. No wonder there is a gouge in the ice. You, Miss Winslow, you could have not gone out on those skates, you could have kept a better lookout, and you could have followed the rules. The law says you are both responsible. I find that you are 30% responsible, and Low Tide is 70% responsible. In that regard, I'm going to award you 70% of what you seek. You're asking this court for a total award of $592,000. I'm going to award you 70% of that, which is $414,400 against the defendant. That's my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned. You all are suing Mr. Horowitz for failing to put in a floor at your jazz club. You went there and you stepped into your jazz club and fell into the basement, suffering terrible injuries. You're asking this court to award $100,000 for your medical bills, $50,000 for future medical bills, $200,000 for pain and suffering, for a total of $350,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Horowitz, it's your position, based on what you filed with this court, that they should not have been there that night. Had they done what they were supposed to do, he would have never been injured, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, well, let's get into the legal sauce. Now, Mr. Brown, tell me what happened.
Your Honor, I had a dream, and my dream was to create and open my own jazz club. Because I'm a jazz musician. I want a place where my friends can come jam, and I could bring some of my famous friends to come in and perform.
You're touching me in my heart. I play a saxophone, and I was a jazz DJ when I was in college.
Oh, that's okay.
So you got your jazz club.
Yeah, so how I got to know Mr. Horowitz here is through my wife, who is in real estate.
How much work were you going to have to do on this club to get it ready?
Oh, the club needed a lot of work. It was an old building. She was able to help secure a good deal on.
Total renovation.
So, Mr. Horowitz, you remember when they hired you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did you understand you were supposed to do?
Well, sir, you know, I own Horowitz Construction, and we believe in the American
How
dream.
long y'all been in business?
20 years, sir.
So you've been doing this a while.
Yeah, generations. My grandfather was in construction during the Depression, so, you know, we got construction in our blood. We got
Yes, sir.
sawdust in our veins, Your Honor.
Yes, that's what my dad used to say.
The Browns came to us, and, you know, they was talking about their dream, and the more he got passionate about it, the more I got passionate about it. Because
So you
I like to
believed in
share
this
the
project.
dreams. I believe in the dreams.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Brown, your dream turned somehow into a nightmare. How did this happen?
My wife wanted to see the building, and particularly the sunken floor. So we were out and about on a date night we try to have every now and then. And we were not far from the building. And we arrived at the building. I had my key, walked in through the front door. I stepped in. Your Honor, I fell down 20 feet into the basement.
Was your wife next to you with this? Miss Brown, were
She
you
was behind me.
Did you
I fell
see
on
this?
a pile of rubble.
Yes, Your
As you
Honor.
can see on that picture, of all the construction trash. I fell on top of all that.
So you fell through this
scaffold,
hole?
The nails, the mud, everything.
Yes, Your Honor.
I thought I was dead.
It was awful. I tried to reach for him. I dropped my phone. I was panicking and screaming. Blood was everywhere.
I guess when you hit this debris, you realized you were pretty badly hurt.
Your Honor, I thought I was gone.
A passerby heard me screaming, so they called 911. They had to put a crane down in the basement to get my husband up.
That's all I could remember.
The doctor told us to call our pastor for his last rites. That's how awful it was.
Mr. Horowitz, you see this is pretty bad stuff, right?
Oh, yes, sir. In the 20 years that I've run that construction company, we've never had an incident, neither client nor worker has ever had an accident quite like
Your
that.
Honor,
Now, why do you think that is, that you haven't had an incident in 20 years?
That's because I practice safety all the time, Your Honor. That's construction. It's always hazardous. So
Well,
I put
Mr. and
safety
Mrs.
in
Brown, you
everything
all
else.
knew that your place wasn't finished, right?
We knew it was supposed to be finished from what I've seen already, because I visited the site like 3 days earlier. And
Clearly, you thought the floor was there.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
So
exactly.
why wouldn't that be reasonable for them to expect that the floor is there?
Well, Your Honor, at the very beginning of all this, we set out blueprints for the client to look at.
Okay.
So they can approve them. That's what we do. So we make sure we're all on the same page.
Now, you've
Those are them
submitted
right
something.
there.
Is this the blueprint you're
Yes,
talking
sir, it
about?
is.
Now, walk me through this. What are we looking at here?
This is the blueprints for the jazz club itself.
Okay.
You see the stage area, the dance area. Over here we got the dining and the bar and
This is a nice place.
Now that's where the sunken floor is supposed to go in.
And where it says front door.
Now this front door is right here by the sunken door because it's part of the lobby. It's part of the entranceway.
Mr. and Mrs.
Now-
Brown, you all went in the front door?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, when you all got to the property, was the door locked?
It was
Yes,
locked,
it was
but we
locked.
have a key.
We have a key.
Well, didn't that tell you
Now,
something?
Your Honor, 3 days ago.
No, sir.
I can't hear them when you talk in my ear.
No,
So
sir.
when you got there, the door was locked.
Well, it's supposed
Correct.
to be locked, Your Honor. I mean, he's not there, so he locks it up when he leaves. But there was no sign, there was no yellow tape, there was nothing saying that we could not enter.
So
that's
if the
why we
door
went.
is locked and they have a key, isn't it reasonable that they go into a place that they own?
I don't understand why they would come in over here when 3 days beforehand, he knew that there was a construction entrance right here in the back. And he could come in here. Matter of fact, that's where he came.
Mr. Horowitz, you may go back to your podium.
I did go through the back door. I glanced at everything. Everything appeared to be in order and everything.
But was there a floor when you went in 3 days before?
The area that covered where the sunken floor is was closed off. So there's no way for me to have known that.
So you didn't go through the front door that time, the few days before.
No, Your Honor.
Did you even go near the front door? Did you see anything near the
Yes,
front
Your Honor.
door?
I did see 3 days prior to the accident a sign that said, "Do not enter," with the tape, "Do not cross."
So
It
now,
wasn't on there the day we went.
on the night in question, was there a sign there?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing at all. No tape, no sign, nothing.
Your Honor, if you saw that building the night we went there, you think it was open for business.
Yes.
There's no indication that it was a construction site. According to the schedule, this floor was supposed to have been done by week 7. When we arrived, it was week 9.
So there's no way there should
And
not
the
have been a
floor
floor.
still wasn't there.
But Mr. and Mrs. Brown, you can't just walk into a place at night, whether you own it or not, and just assume that it's all right.
Well, Your Honor, all due respect, we weren't informed about any delays or any issues.
And
I did inform you that there was going to be a delay.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I
No,
did.
you
Your Honor,
How?
we have a
Well,
contract.
I haven't seen a construction project that was on time.
Well, sir, he did not let us know.
He didn't let us know.
Your Honor, he didn't let us know if there was any delays or anything.
At all.
Now, Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
now, as you've already stated, it's hard to stay on a schedule in construction.
Yes, sir.
Mainly because a lot of times it's not our fault.
Right.
We get behind. Sometimes it's about the weather.
Change orders, things of that sort.
Things of that sort. Now, in this particular case, it was about supply and demand.
Well, you have to communicate that with us.
It was.
Yes.
Tell me about supply and demand.
I'll tell you about supply and demand, Your Honor.
Because it's not easy for contractors.
No, when we got to that part about the sunken floor, we
Okay.
already started the demo. Then we get a call from our supplier saying that the type of wood we need.
And
well,
see,
was
that's not in
there.
your control.
Yeah, that's beyond our control. So
Now,
instead of
did you
just
let the
stopping-
Browns know that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And so how did you let them know?
I let them know through telephone, voicemail.
Did you ever get the voicemail?
Yes, Your Honor, after the fact.
So
After he was injured.
he did leave a voicemail. Y'all just didn't pick it up until later.
Right, as I
well, that's not
explained
my fault,
earlier.
Your Honor.
So had you picked it up, you would have known that this floor was not finished.
Your Honor, there were multiple ways he could have got in contact with us, not just leaving a voicemail.
But he tried.
But there's other ways, Your Honor. He could have emailed, he could have texted, he could have done anything.
And once again, the
it
sign
just-
was removed from the front door.
If it's
It said,
something
"Do
that
not sign."
serious, you would reach out.
It just seems to me that if you had picked up the voicemail, you wouldn't have $100,000 of medical expenses. I see on the plasma there's a week schedule. Now, if you go according to this schedule, Mr. Horowitz, by week 9, the end of week 9, you're done, right?
That's the way it's supposed to work out.
Yes.
Yes,
So at
sir.
the time when the Browns walked through their front door, what week were we in?
We were in week 9, Your Honor.
So the floor should have been installed by week 7.
Yes, sir. Like I said, we had a problem getting the wood in on time.
And you
after we
tried to
started
let
the
them
demo.
know that.
I did try to let them know that. And in the meantime, what we did was, instead of stopping our work and sitting on our hands waiting for wood and delaying the entire schedule, we went ahead and worked on all the other things that we could have worked on.
You sound like a good contractor.
I try to work hard. I work hard for my money. I work hard for my family. I
Yes,
work
sir.
hard for these people who want to see their dreams come true. That's what I'm all about, Your
Well, you
Honor.
wouldn't be
I'm
in
about
business
making
20
a
years
dream.
if you didn't. So, Mr. Brown, you and Mrs. Brown step through, you fall into the hole, 911 is called. At some point, you realize the extent of your injuries. What are they?
That fractured shoulder, my hip was replaced.
You're a relatively young man. How old are you?
I'm 44, Your Honor.
So you had a hip replacement at 44. Tell
Yes,
me
Your
about
Honor.
your shoulder.
My shoulder was fractured as well.
To understand your injuries, I want to talk to Dr. Karen Flood. We're going to bring her in and let her explain this to us. So, Sheriff, would you get Dr. Flood for us?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Your Honor.
Would you state your name for the record?
My name is Dr. Karen Flood. I'm an orthopedic surgeon.
And, Doctor, what does an orthopedic surgeon do?
We fix bones and joints. So anywhere from the shoulders out and from the hips down. There's also orthopedic spine surgeons.
Now, will you explain to me the nature and severity of Mr. Brown's injuries?
Yes, Your Honor. When Mr. Brown fell, he suffered multiple injuries, as you know. He broke his shoulder, he broke his wrist, and he also broke his right hip joint. And the right hip is what is the most concerning of his injuries. The reason for that is the hip is a ball and socket joint. And what he did was he knocked the ball right off the thigh bone. And when you do that, the blood supply to the femoral head, the ball part, can get disrupted, and then the bone actually dies.
So this was bad stuff.
This is a big deal.
How exactly do you repair an injury like that?
Well, in most cases, we actually replace the hip. I've got a video if you'd like to see it.
I would. Please take us through this.
So this is the patient getting ready for surgery. You see we've got them all positioned here on the table. They've got their feet in traction. Here's the hip joint up here. So he's done the work for me. He's knocked the hip joint off. And now I'm going to replace it by putting a broach down inside the thigh bone that opens up a hole in the thigh unless we put the actual hip replacement down into the joint. So
now, do you pound that thing down into the thigh?
I do. We have a mallet that knocks it down in. And then we replace the hip socket first by reaming out that socket and then relocate the hip. You have to dislocate the hip in order to replace it. You put it back in place, and then that allows you to get a little bit of motion back in your hip.
He's 44 years old. How common is it that you get a hip replacement?
Well, it's not as common, and the problem with that, of course, is this hip is eventually going to wear out. About another 20 years, he's probably going to need to get it replaced.
So around the time he's about to retire, he's going to have a hip replacement.
He's going to have another hip replacement. That one's harder because I have to take out more bone in order to do that. You take more. So every time you do it, it's a more complicated procedure.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
You may be released. So, Mr. Horowitz, you see that this has been very heavy for the Browns, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
And these folks, regardless of where you assign fault, he's going to be dealing with this for a while. Does your heart get touched on that?
Well, of course it does, Your Honor. I mean, when I found out what happened and I saw the incident report, I was horrified. In all honesty, I mean, if he hadn't walked in where he wasn't supposed to be, then none of this would have happened to him. I made it plainly clear to him that it was dangerous
to
be in there.
What happened to the sign that was on the door 3 days before? He took it off, Your Honor.
Well,
the do not cross sign, why was that removed? That place was ready for business.
That place was not ready for business.
The front door was painted, Your Honor.
When I do construction, I'm the one.
Order in this court. Mr. Horowitz, I can see that you tried to warn the Browns. You
Yes,
locked
sir.
the door, you tried to call them.
Yes, sir.
I can imagine this was shocking and disappointing to you.
I mean, I'd never had anything like this ever happen. I've never had a client just show up at the job site at night when nobody is there and just let themselves in.
It's our building.
Until this construction is done, and I say it's safe, you shouldn't even be going in there without any kind of escort,
It was supposed to
including
be
me.
finished.
Order in this court. Folks, I think I've heard everything I need to hear. I'm ready to make my decision. In every personal injury case, the plaintiff has to prove 3 things. The plaintiff has to prove that the defendant did something wrong and that wrong caused your injuries. Clearly, you were injured from this terrible fall at your club. Here, you all reasonably thought that the floor was in because, according to the schedule, it should have been in. You all went in expecting to be excited, imagining all the dancing on the floor, and you fell down 20 feet into a basement with horrible injuries. Mr. Horowitz, when you left that night, you had no idea that this tragedy would happen because you put certain safeguards in place. You locked the door and you left them a voicemail saying, hey, not finished, don't go in the place, but they didn't pick it up. And because they didn't pick it up, you believe it's their fault. Well, here the law takes a global approach to the evidence. That is, I consider everything. You all have proven that there was something wrong. Clearly, you've proven you're injured and that the wrong caused your injuries. Mr. Horowitz, I find that you tried to warn the Browns. You not only locked the door, but you actually got on the phone and called them trying to leave a message to say, don't go into the place. Now, they didn't pick that message up, and they should have. However, I think you should have done more. You should have warned them. You should have put tape over this door, done whatever it took to avoid a man nearly falling to his death. And in that regard, I find you 100% responsible, and I'm going to award you all every penny of what you seek. $100,000 for past medicals, $50,000 for future medicals, and $200,000 for pain and suffering, for a total award of $350,000. That is my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned.